Yo, what up, fellas? I need you to lean in real quick. Come on. Come on. Come a little closer. Come a little closer. I got something to tell you. Look, you bet not. You bet not move in with that woman, or else you gonna regret it. Let's lock in. Woo! Y'all know what time it is? Y'all know what time it is? You are now tuned into the On God Podcast, and I am your lovely, gracious host, the one who just does the most. Yep, that's me. Woo! Ow! You know you're gonna get that real. Yeah, the realest Christian podcast in the world. Well, we keep it real 100% of the time. It's time to lock in. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, people? Look, stop. I know. Took us some time, I get it. Oh, you too kind. You're too kind. I know it took us some time to get here, but we are officially back with episode number 1 of the On God Pod. I am your lovely host, and I am so grateful that you chose to tune into this podcast today. Listen to your boy talk his stuff and find out a little bit more about what we even going to be talking about on this pod. But you here, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So give yourself a round of applause because you deserve it. You deserve it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Like I said, I'm your host, Joshua Dillard, man of the On God Pod. And before we lock into the episode, let me give you a brief summary of why you should stick around. Fellas, I am going to deep dive and tell you why, just from my opinion and what I've observed over the years, why you should not move in with that woman. And to clarify things, we're talking about a woman that you are not married to, okay? I'm going to tell you why. It's going to be the death of you. Now, that may be a little bit extreme, but I want to tell why it's going to not work in your benefit for you to move in with that woman. I'm also going to add some context to this conversation because I know that there are some, dualities. Like, I know that there are some circumstances where some of you may be like, well, Josh, here's how I feel about that. I get that. I may touch on some of that stuff, but what I'm talking about, I'm not wide brushing this and saying that, hey, if you do it, it's going to be to your detriment. You aren't going to have a successful relationship. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is for the majority of it, it's not going to be advantageous for you to move in with the woman before you get married. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you some reasons as to why that is, and they're going to be pretty enticing. But I want to tell you a little bit about why I started the podcast. So I actually started this podcast like in 2016, but the podcast was called the Fly Society Podcast. That's where the moniker comes from, the realest Christian talk show in the world. And I had co-hosts at that time, and shout out to them. And so when I was doing podcasts at the time, man, it did really well. I mean, the podcast ended up becoming the number 1 podcast in the world for Christian millennials. And then we was building. And guess what? It wasn't a lot of people podding at that time. But now, podcasting has become a little bit more popular. So saying all that to say, I'm not new to this. Kind of true to this, you know what I'm saying? But I discontinued the podcast because I had life stuff happen, needed to make money, was married at the time, all of that stuff. And what took priority was really, bringing food to the table as a man should do if he is the leader of the home. So I discontinued the podcast at the time, and then I eventually restarted it, rebranded it, called it the Joshua Dillard Show. And again, it was the realest Christian talk show in the world. But our moniker became where we keep it real 100% of the time because Back in 2016, there wasn't really a lot of podcasts out there where Christians were talking about real issues. Like they were talking about things that they were going through in their everyday life. For the most part, the experience that the Christian had with other believers was at a church, going into a church, sitting down, getting taught, leaving that church, but not really understanding and knowing how to apply this word to their lives. And there was a lot of Christians who were polished, who seemed like they didn't go through things. They didn't experience things. They didn't make mistakes. They didn't fall. And so I'm like, man, Christianity is really not like that. Christianity isn't dressed up and perfect. Christianity is more like this than it is like that. But I think the way it was being presented made it seem like in order for you to be a Christian, you had to be perfect. You had to be polished. And there weren't real conversations happening because I don't think a lot of Christians felt comfortable to have real conversations, which is kind of crazy to me because the word says that they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. But a lot of people don't feel comfortable, especially if you're Christian, sharing their testimony because they feel like they're going to be judged. They feel like, that's kind of a part of my life. I'm just not too sure if that's something I should put out there. So we come on the scene and we start having these real conversations, unfiltered conversations about God, about life, about culture. And it took off. And so kind of fast forwarding till now. So like I was saying 2021 when COVID happened, 2020, 2021. I decided to take social media a little bit more seriously where honestly, I didn't have a plan or anything like that. I just said to myself, hey, if I do this for, let's say 30 days straight and I just post consistently on social media, I just kind of wonder what would happen. And so I did that. I committed to it. I'm like, man, I'm going to post content for 30 days straight. And it was crazy because the Lord blessed it. And I end up and growing my platform at the time to like 10,000 followers in like 30 days, which was crazy to me. I've been on social media for like 12 years. And so to grow that fast in such a short period of time, I knew that God had his hand on it, so to say. So I grew this platform and it was kind of around real content, really. Again, that wasn't anybody really doing what I was doing. And that was this mixture of righteous and ratchet almost. You know what I mean? Like I would make like comedic skits that were relatable to people, you know what I'm saying? Relatable to myself and kind of really put myself out there. And a lot of people connected with that. And so, I took some time off of like producing content, social media content, influencing, creating, because there were a lot of things that like just the Lord had to do personally within my life, kind of fine tune some things, purify some things, so to say. And now I am super clear on just purpose, my calling, how I want to bring value and impact to you guys, because my ultimate goal with this podcast is to empower you, is to edify you, to energize you to walk in your calling, in your purpose. That's my purpose. The moniker now is walk in your calling because that's what we want to help you do. We want to help you be excited and passionately pursue the thing that God has put on your life. And we want to empower you to use your gifts boldly to walk in what God has called you to do. And so now that I have a clear understanding that like there were a lot of obstacles that I had to overcome even to get to that point. But now that I have a clear understanding of why God put me here in the avenue in which he wants me to use to bring value to you guys, now it's up. It's up now. You know what I mean? So here's who this podcast is for. If you are a Christian who likes to like really listen to conversations that keep it real, that's mistakes, that's flaws, that's stories, like really the embodiment of, hey, overcoming by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony, then this podcast is for you. This podcast is for you. If you're like, look, I'm walking this walk, but I need some help along the way, this podcast is for you. If you like, yo, I fail, I want to get it right, I want to listen to something that's kind of real and relatable, this podcast is for you. You know what I'm saying? It's not really for the person who doesn't have any flaws, the person who was looking for perfection. I'm not perfect. You know, if you're looking for that, then this podcast is not for you. You know what I'm saying? But this podcast is for you if you want to grow in your relationship with Christ, if you want to walk in your calling, if you want to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, these are some areas that I know God isn't pleased with, that I really want to grow in. If you want to challenge yourself, and challenge the decisions that you continuously make, and you want to do that through the word, then this podcast is for you. If you want to be edified, if you want to talk deep theological concepts, and you want to challenge yourself to yield fruit and grow in your relationship with God, then this podcast is for you. Basically, if you want to keep it real, this podcast is for you. You know what I'm saying? And so basically some of the things that you can expect on this podcast is basically, you know, we're going to have guests, some celebrity, you know what I'm saying, to talk about real things in the faith. We're also going to have topics that we discuss that are in hip hop and urban pop culture, you know, that we're going to give our takes on, that's going to be entertaining. I'm going to tell stories. I love telling stories. I love like putting myself out there and being the embodiment of that scripture, overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. So you're definitely going to hear stories about me and my life. You're going to learn me and things of that nature. And we're going to have people on the show. We're going to have deep theological topics where sometimes I may do a podcast and this is like really digging deep and really cold hard teaching. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, let's crack open the word. Let's break bread and let's see where we come out at the end of it. So some of that stuff will be challenging for you to hear. I'll be honest. Some of the word in the Bible is challenging for me to read. You know what I mean? There are very difficult concepts to wrap your mind around in the Bible when you talk about bearing fruit and growing in your relationship with God, because the word of God is a very challenging book. It challenges your faith. It challenges where you are. It challenges your sinful nature. It challenges your belief system. You know what I'm saying? And so it takes a lot of faith to even believe in the word of God, on top of all the other nuances that are in the Bible, right? That you try to navigate through. But we're going to dig deep into that stuff. So you're going to get some episodes where it's going to be heavy on theology. And then you're going to get some episodes where it's going to be heavy on Kendrick is trash. You know what I'm saying? It's balanced. It's balanced. You got to be balanced, okay? You know, so there are some times where you may get an episode where I'm just riffing and giving you my thoughts on culture. And then sometimes you're going to get an episode where we talk about stuff like, is once you save, always save? Is that concept, if you've heard that, is that actually biblical? That once you save, you always save and you can never lose your salvation? Is that biblical? Is phrases like the praises go up, the blessings come down, is that even in the Bible? All right, let's talk about it. Let's dig deep. We getting into Greek, we getting into Hebrew, we getting into concordances, we getting into all of it. You know, so that's kind of what you can expect. So if you want that duality where there's a mixture of real, where you're going to laugh, but you also going to think, you're going to feel relief, but you also going to feel challenged, then this podcast is for you, okay? So since this is the first episode, I definitely want to tell you guys a little bit of what you can expect. But I know why you're here. I can't blame you. We know why you're here. Right? Now, at the beginning of this episode, I said, fellas, if you don't want to destroy your life, don't move in with it. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about my sons, and I was thinking about, like, they're getting older. They're teenagers. soon to be graduating really soon. Okay. Started young, people. Got it in young. I know you're like, Jesus Christ, well, how old are you? Don't worry about all of that. Just know I got it in young. Anyways, so they're getting older, right? And they're about to graduate high school. And I thought it's making me think about conversations that I'm going to have with them that I feel like will honestly make them better men and make them better leaders, better than I could ever be. I had a conversation with my son actually yesterday, and I was telling them that, man, look, the only reason I'm telling you stuff like this is because I wish I had a father. Now, both of my dads were in my life, my stepdad and my biological dad, and I'm going to tell you guys, we'll talk about that another time. But unfortunately, even though they were in my life, my stepdad was heavy on Bible, heavy on God. And so I really didn't know him as the man and the father. And my dad, I feel like I would have got that out of him, but unfortunately he dealt with dementia earlier on in his life, so he couldn't even interact with his boys like I'm sure he would have wanted to. So I didn't have that mentor, that father figure to tutor me in things when I refer to like developing as a man. And so I was talking to my son and I was like, look, you may feel like I'm getting on you about some of the things that we talk about, but ultimately it's because I really want to pour into you so you can be better than I ever was. I want you to be better than me. And when you really think about the scripture, it's always called us to be greater, not be stuck in the same place, not be the same. We're supposed to evolve as a generation. And that's ultimately what you should want, like for your kids, right? And so I want my son to be better than me. I told him, like, look, if you had an opportunity to take the long way or the short way around, but you get the exact same result, which way would you take? Would you take the long route or would you take the short route? And he says, of course, I'll take the short route. And I said, if you listen to what I'm telling you, you actually get a cheat code because you get to take the shorter route. And unfortunately, if you don't have a dad in your life, a lot of people spend most of their lives taking the long way around because they didn't have someone to teach them so that they can learn from their mistakes and their shortcomings. Ultimately, that's what I want for my sons and my kids. So with that being said, I'm starting to think about these conversations that are going to help them develop as men. And unfortunately, something that I'm seeing in this generation is that men, unfortunately, are way more lazy and way more codependent on a woman than they should be, and it's to their detriment. It's to their detriment. So let me set this up for you, okay? So let's say my sons came to me and they were about to get their own place, but the conversation started off like this. Well, Dad, I've been thinking about getting my own place, but I had this little chick I'm messing with. I had this little chick, she fine. I like her. We've been talking for some time, Pops, and I love her. I love her. And I'd be like, okay. So what's up? So yeah, Pops, I'm really thinking about, times is hard. The economy is hard. Apartments are a lot. So I was thinking, like, she already got her own place. I was thinking about, man, I might as well move in with her, and we kind of share the responsibilities of the bills and stuff like that, because we know we're going to be together. When you're a teenager, you really feel like you know everything already. I'm pretty sure I was probably like that at some point. Like, you really feel like you got life figured out. Yeah, Pops, we gonna move in together, and like we gonna split the bills, and we gonna do this and we gonna do that. And I would sit back and I would listen to him. But then once he finished, I'd be like, what you want from me in this conversation? He's like, well, I just want to know your thoughts. I just want to know your opinion. And I say, well, okay, well, I'll share my opinion with you. You better not. You better not. You better not move in with her.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Because I don't want you to play yourself. I don't want you to play yourself. And this is a moment where I would say, okay, let me give him legitimate reasons why it's actually a bad idea to move in with this person that you're not married to. Like, I'm not even talking sex as a man. I'm not talking fornication. That's another topic for another day. Like, as Christians, I think we all can agree that it is not in your best interest to move in with a person that you are romantically attracted to. I mean, that's like if you want to maintain a healthy relationship with God. It's probably not in your best interest for you to move in with the person that you watch get out the shower every day. You know what I'm saying? And you trying to stay disciplined. I mean, can we be real? Okay, so I'm not even talking about that. That's fornication. That's going to lead to fornication. There are a bunch of biblical concepts on why that's actually not a good thing if you want to grow in your relationship with God. And some would even consider that, tag that as shacking up. Now, I'm not talking about shacking up. I'm not talking about that. Okay, let's put that to the side for now. Another podcast for another day. Okay, but here's what I would tell my son, and I would also tell any man. So it doesn't matter what age you are listening to this episode. Okay, this can apply if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s as a man, or if you're a teenager just about to go off to college, or maybe you don't want to do college, maybe you're just going to work. This applies. Here's what I would tell my son. Here's what I would tell a man who is even in his 30s if he is in this position. Now, for my son, I would ask him, so you want to move in with her, you feel like you're going to save on expenses, you want to have some sense of independence, right? Like you want to come out of the bird's nest, I assume. He'd probably be like, yeah, that's what I want. And I'd be like, okay, you better not move in with her. And I'm going to tell you why you should move in with her. That's not just biblical shacking up. So here's one of the reasons why you shouldn't move in with her. Because, son, you have never had a place on your own. So if you can't lead yourself, how in the heck do you think you're going to lead a woman? Let me go deeper here. Okay, there are so many skills that we as men learn that are important for our development as a man and as a leader that we have to learn on our own. That responsibility, we have to learn that responsibility on our own. So when you have your own place, here's what I would tell my son literally. When you have your own place, you're developing skills that you don't even know you're developing. Why? Because you got to pay rent on time. You got to pay them bills, and you're going to get kicked out. You got to cook for yourself. You got to clean for yourself. You got to take care of your hygiene. You got to show up to work on time, or else you're going to lose the job. There are so many soft skills that you develop as a man that if you move in with this woman and you've never had a place on your own, you're actually robbing yourself from growing in the area of responsibility. Sheesh. Okay, so check me out, right? So God creates the world, and then he creates Adam. He says it's not good for man to be alone, then he creates Eve. Before he created Eve, he gave Adam an instruction not to eat the fruit, okay? So before Eve ever came along, God gave Adam something. He gave him leadership, right? And he gave him responsibility. And this is before he ever gave him a wife. Okay? So, I would tell my son, I wouldn't want to rob you of an opportunity to develop as a leader, which is why you should never move in with that woman. Because you need to learn how to take care of yourself. You need to learn how to lead yourself before you ever lead her or her kids or your kids, y'all kids. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing I would tell them. And here's what I would even tell women, because a lot of times a woman will spend her life being mom to her boyfriend. Jesus Christ, I didn't even know I was going to go here. A woman will spend her life being with a man and being his mom versus being his partner or his spouse. She like I get it. Women, the beautiful thing about women is that they're such nurturing individuals. Like if you get with the right woman, she will pull the best out of you, especially if you in love with that woman, right? The negative thing about that is that nurturing could end up turning and evolving into coddling. Coddling a man. So I would tell my son, no, you don't want that. One, because you don't want your woman to ever feel like she your mother, because she gonna lose respect for you. Now, along the lines of that, because I'm about to go in the whole respect area, but let me just labor here just a little bit, as the preacher say. There are so many things that you learn as a man just by staying on your own, which is why I would advocate to my sons, you have to live by yourself. Because what's going to happen is it's easy to get comfortable because your mom took care of you all of your life, especially if you grew up with a single mom. So it's easy to get comfortable and move in with a woman who's now going to kind of take care of you, right? Like you don't know how to log in to a portal to pay a bill. You don't know how to write the check. You don't know how to, go to the leasing office just in case you get behind on the payment and see what you guys can work out. You don't know about late fees. You don't know who to call, where to call. You don't know nothing because she ends up taking care of everything. And that is a problem. That's a problem. Why is that a problem? Because you're not leading. That's why that's an issue. Okay. So I tell my sons, hey, don't move in with her because there are skills that you're going to learn that are going to translate into a relationship. Right. So think about this. If I am down on my luck, let's say I'm working on a job as a young man, I'm 18, 19, 20, 30, whatever. And something happens with my job, right? Life starts lifing. I end up losing my job, but I still got bills. Uh-oh. Bills don't care about your job. Bills do not care about you losing your job. Bills are not going to call you on the phone and be like, man, I feel so bad for you, brother. Yeah, man, I wish that was something I could. You all right, though? How you doing over there? Now, Bill's going to call you and be like, Ninja, where my money at? Where my money? Where my money? And as a single man who's staying by yourself, you have to learn how to figure that out. So not only is being a single man who's staying alone going to teach you these soft skills, it's also going to teach you problem solving. So when you do get into a relationship, in order to overcome challenges, in order to overcome communication issues, you're going to have to learn how to solve problems. If you move in with a woman, especially if you're young and you move in with the woman, you rob yourself. You kind of cripple yourself. It's like you're walking, but you're walking with a crutch because you haven't learned how to solve problems. You haven't learned how to deal with stress, right? Like if you lose your job and you lose your place of employment and the rent is due on the 1st, that's a very stressful situation. How do you respond to stress? How do you react to stress? How do you solve problems under duress? See, you don't know about none of that. You don't know about none of that because you haven't stayed by yourself and you haven't been put in that position to develop in that environment. And so as a man, it's important that they are given room to develop by themselves on their own. Because what happens is if that don't happen, then women will start complaining about the dude playing the game all day. Dude not having any drive. Man, I try to communicate to him. I try to talk with him, and I feel like I'm the one always bringing I feel like I'm the one bringing the problems, but I also feel like I'm the one bringing the solutions. I mean, he never really is motivated. Kind of doesn't really have ambition. Doesn't know how to really talk through things. And one of the first things I ask him is, okay, well, I just wonder, has this man just had his own place? And I know you're like, bro, that's so small. Now, it sounds small, but it's actually big. It's actually big. Has he had his own time to develop into the man that he's becoming apart from the oversight of his parents by living in his home and also the crippling of a girlfriend by them staying together before they get married? Has he had an opportunity to develop? If that's not the case, then that man should not be moving in with the woman. Because at the end of the day, what she's expecting from you, no matter how alpha she is, this whole conversation about an alpha woman, don't nobody care about all that. Look, it don't matter how alpha a woman is, she expects you as a man to lead her. Now, even if she's not Christian, it don't matter if she's not Christian. It don't matter if she don't identify as, that don't matter. A woman is looking to admire, and they want to admire and trust the man that is in their lives as a spouse, that they are going to handle it and that they can handle it. When everything is falling apart, they know they can lean into and trust that my husband got it. They want a man that they can follow. No matter how much they tell you, I don't care about them being alpha. I don't care. They want a man that they can follow, that they trust, okay? So, as a young man, you hinder yourself from developing those skills. Now, as an older man, let's say you're older, let's say you're in your 30s or something like that. I would ask an older man, if they were telling me, let's say a homie came to me and they were like, hey, Josh, I'm really thinking about moving in with her because it's just going to be easy economically. We're going to get married anyway. So, I think we're going to be good. It just makes more sense for us to move in together. We be at each other's house all the time. It just makes sense. And depending on how well I know this person, if this was a man who's never had his own place, I would just be honest with him. Bro, you should move in with him. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Because there are some men out here, Papa was a rolling stone, wherever he laid his hat was his home. There are some men out here who, since they were teenagers into their 30s and into their 40s, let me tell you, they haven't learned how to manage responsibility. Why? Because they've been from house to house to house to house, girlfriend to girlfriend to girl. And most of the time, let's be real. Let's be real. Most of the time in situations like that, you find that the woman is handling all the administrative stuff in the relationship. Let's be real. Let's be real. Paying bills, paying rent. She is the solutionist. She figures it out. Most of the time, that's what happens when you have a man who's never had his own. He don't know what it's like to lose his own. I don't even know what that's like to have that feeling of getting kicked out, because I've always been able to lean on a woman who gonna figure it out for me. And that's what happens when you get with a man who hasn't had their own. You subconsciously as a woman, now I'm talking to the women, you subconsciously as a woman end up coddling a man and not even know it. You don't even know it, but then you end up frustrated. There's only so much that you're going to be able to convince yourself of in this relationship with this man that's going to make it palatable for you to keep moving forward, to stay with this guy. Because at the end of the day, deep down inside, you desire for this man to lead you, but he's not leading you. You know that you desire for this man to take charge. I want a man who's confident, a man that I can trust, but this is not that man, right? He's never been in a position where he's had to fend for himself, eat. Like when I say eat, I'm not talking like driving up to Jack in the Box and getting you $2 tacos. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about you have so much to lose if you don't do something in this circumstance, right? Because a lot of men who haven't had that type of responsibility and weight, it's just second nature, especially if they were raised by a single mom, to lean into a woman who takes care of that for them. So then you end up complaining about your man being lazy, about your man not taking initiative, about your man not being responsible. But at the end of the day, you the one who chose your man. Okay. All right, I'm going to get out of there. I don't want y'all to get mad at me. Okay? But one of the indicators on this is like low-level leadership, ladies. One of the true indicators on whether a man can lead you or not is, has he led himself first? And one of the ways that you can see if that man has led himself is just a simple question. Have you ever lived by yourself before? Okay? That's a foundational question. Now let's add a layer to that. Have you successfully lived by yourself? Because it's one thing to live by yourself. No, that could be a certain nuances. Like I can know somebody that knows somebody that, gave me the hookup, right? And I was able to move in with this individual, or maybe they had a house and they did me a favor and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, have you went to the leasing office and applied? Do you know what that feels like? You know what I'm saying? Have you gotten a bill in your name? Do you know what that feels like? Have you went to the grocery store, right? and bought groceries for your refrigerator? Do you know what that feels like? Have you ever moved into a place where you spent all your money trying to move into that place so you ain't got nobody's furniture?
Oh my God.
You sleeping on air mattresses and futons.
Oh my God.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know, right? So you have to continuously work as a man to try to get a couch, a dining table. Dang, I need a dining table. Oh man, I need furniture in the room. See, women, they already think about this stuff. They already thinking about how they gonna decorate the spot. You know what I'm saying? We just trying to get into the spot, right? So I'm not talking handouts, right? I'm not talking knowing somebody and then you move. I'm talking you had to work for it and get it on your own. That's what I'll ask my friend. And if my friend has never been in a place where he's had to work for it and get it on his own, I would say, bro, if you move in with her and if you keep moving in with women, then one, you're going to lose the respect of that woman eventually. You're going to lose a little bit of trust. But two, you will never develop into the leader that you can ultimately be for yourself, for your wife, and for your family. You'll never develop into that person because this is all a part of your developmental process. Look, in order to be a leader, there's a few things that a leader needs. One of those things is confidence. People do not want to follow. Women do not want to follow an incompetent man who lacks confidence. Okay? So when you develop these challenges and these obstacles and you face these head on and you overcome them, maybe you lose your job. Maybe you were getting paid $50,000 to $60,000 a year, but you end up losing that job. And now you had to work at McDonald's dropping fries because the job market was hard, right? And so you had to be humbled, so to say. You went from 50,000 to now you dropping fries at McDonald's. That's a very humbling experience. But guess what? God is sharpening your character through the process, right? But you ain't never experienced that because you ain't never been on your own. You've always had your woman to break your fall. Jeez. You've always had a woman to be there for you and break your fall. So you've never really experienced falling flat on your butt and then having to figure it out. And you've never experienced the things that God will probably try to teach you through losing your job so he could develop and sharpen your character. You ain't never experienced that stuff, right? You've never had to because you've always had somebody that is a woman to catch you, right? So the thing is, when you do experience that stuff, you develop character, but also you develop confidence. Confidence. That's so important for a man to have. A woman is saying, I hear women say, I want a man who's ambitious. I want a man who has vision. But let me tell you, that man not going to have vision and he not going to be ambitious if he don't have confidence. He not. The two and two don't go together. It's like oil and water. It don't go together. You don't get vision and ambition without confidence. Okay. And I'm not talking arrogance. I'm talking confidence. Okay. So a man needs confidence to be a good leader. Any leader that you know that's worth following is confidence. Doesn't mean that they're arrogant. They can be humble. No, they can be poised. They can be mild-mannered. They can be gentle, but it don't mean that they're not confident. And as a man, you need confidence. You need to learn how to overcome obstacles. You need to go work at McDonald's when it's not working out. You need to humble yourself and be able to do whatever it takes to make sure you put a roof over your head and don't go back to mama house because that's going to do something to your ego. Like, As a man, you need those experiences because when you take those L's, but you overcome those obstacles, you overcome those challenges, then you get those wins, right? You get those wins, it's going to start to build what? Confidence. So when you have challenges in your relationship, you know that you can overcome those challenges. Why? Because you have confidence. How did you even get confidence? Well, Josh, I took L's in my life. I had to work hard. I had to figure some things out. So if I can figure my personal life out, I can dang sure figure this marriage out, regardless of what happened. As long as God is on my side, as long as I have a decent, a good work ethic, I can get out of this. That's going to translate into your relationship. But if you don't have confidence, right, you're not going to be a good leader. Okay? Now let's say you as a man, you feel on hard times, right? And you like, Josh, I understand everything that you're saying, but I feel on hard times, man. Maybe I just got out of jail. Maybe I got a bad record. You know, it's not just that easy for me to get a job. And, you know, it would help me a lot if I was able to move in with this woman to pay bills. I would still say, don't do it. Don't move in with her. Because look, if you don't have confidence and that woman don't trust you, you are going to lose her respect. Woo! And once you lose that respect, it is over. Okay? Okay, it is over. Okay, the one thing that you have as a man is respect and your dignity. So if you as a man, let's say you like, hey man, I want to move in with this woman. We talked about it. We happy, we in love. I'm not just suffering, but it just makes sense for us to move in together, test drive the whip, so to say. It just makes sense for us to do that, especially for financial reasons. I get it. The economy is bad. So what? Hey, I want to save some money. So earn more money. Don't move in with her though. Okay. Because if you move in with this woman, let me tell you, you move in with her and your approach is, hey, I'm going to move in with you and I'm going to pay half of the bills. You already lost some respect, my brother. It's already bad enough that you're moving in with her, right? Okay. And on top of that, you telling her you going to go 50-50 on the bills? Nah. That ain't going to work. You are going to lose respect points in her mind, my brother, for sure. Okay. Now, some of you may be like, man, you simping with this next statement. No, I'm not. I'm just a leader, bro. I'm just a leader. I just want to set the tone in my relationship that I'm a trustworthy man who will figure it out and make sure my woman is good at all times. Maybe that's not you. Maybe you the type of man who give yourself excuses. Maybe you the type of man who throw yourself a pity party. Maybe you the type of man who play victim all the time. That's not me, okay? Like when I come into a situation, I want my woman to know that she can trust me. And so if I was in your position and you was thinking about moving in with her and maybe you fell on hard times, okay, I get that. Now, this is me being empathetic. This is not me saying that you should do it. This is just me putting myself in your shoes and telling you what I would do if I was in your shoes. Okay, so if I was in your shoes and I fell on hard times or it seemed advantageous economically, here's what I would do. If I move in with a woman, I would say, don't even worry about the bills. Don't even worry about the bills. They're my bills now. Look, women going crazy in the chat. They're my bills now. I own that bill. I own that bill. I own that bill. And I own that bill. They all mine. I know the women listening to the power right now like, yes, brother. Yes, brother. Teach that good word. Amen. No, for real. Why would I do that? Because I want to set the tone that first, I'm a leader. First, like you're not going to have to worry about anything and you can trust me. I want to set the tone that I'm trustworthy. I don't want to set the tone that I'm here to use you. Nah, I don't want to set that tone. I also don't want to set the tone that when it comes to finances, I need you to survive. Nah, I don't want to set that tone. I don't want to set that tone. If all else fails and things were so bad where I had to move in with my woman, I'm taking care of the bills because I want you to know, one, I'm not here to use you. Two, you can trust me, and I'm actually really just experiencing bad times. And three, I'm a capable, competent leader. See, some of y'all men out here, y'all just talking about it. Y'all not being about it. Like, it's either you a provider or you're not a provider. It's either you're a protector or you're not a protector. Like, stop playing in the middle. Even God don't like that. I'd rather you hot or cold. Lukewarm, I spew you out of my mouth. 50-50 is lukewarm to me. Some of y'all just lukewarm. You want the respect, you want the admiration, you want the honor, but you're not willing to take on the whole thing. You want to split it down the middle. Ninja, if you, boy, I gotta speak real to my fellas, okay? So, if I was in your shoes, that's what I would do. But my thing is, if I can do 50-50, or if I can pay her bills, why not just pay my own? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would I go pay hers and we not married? I don't have an obligation to take care of the bills. Why not just pay my own? There are so many other alternatives. I would say, man, move back in with your daddy and your mama, whoever you live with or both of them. Move back in with them and get on your feet before moving in with her. If it's that bad, bro, get you a hotel before moving in with her. If it's that bad, bro, get a roommate. Get a roommate before moving in with her. If it's just absolutely that bad. As you can see, there are so many other alternatives than moving in with her. And this is where I challenge you as a leader. Are you a leader? How do you show that you a leader? Not say that you a leader. 'Cause a lot of y'all out here be talking that stuff on social media. I'm this, I'm that. I bring this to the table. I bring that to the table. But a lot of y'all not sounding leaderish out here. I don't even know if that's a word. But it's either you are or you're not. So me as a leader, as someone who owns that role, as someone who's comfortable in the shoes, as someone who wants to protect and wants to provide, I'm like, hey, if I move in, I got it. You good. And I was telling one of my homies this the other day. I never want to, when I leave a place, I want people to be sad that I'm gone. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I never want to become a liability to anyone. I want to be an asset to people because an asset brings you value, but a liability just takes away from you. That car loan you got, it's a liability. It's draining your account, but you don't own the car. That's a liability. Right? I don't want a whole bunch of liabilities in my life, nor do I want to be a liability in other people's lives. I want people to be like, hey, Josh is in my life. Josh is an asset to my life. You dig what I'm saying? That's what you should want. You should want, insert your name as a man. You should want people to feel like, hey, when John, when Luke, when Mark, when Paul, look, all the disciples, whatever your name is, when this person in my life, he's an asset to my life. He doesn't drain me. He doesn't drain me. Man, he empowers me. He infuses me. And I almost feel empty when this person is not in my life because they bring so much goodness and favor into my life. That's the type of person I want to be. You know, so when you're thinking about a relationship, that's how you should want to be in a relationship, okay? That you're an asset. You're not a liability. But if you move in with this woman and you on a game all day, you're losing respect points, my brother. If you move in with this woman and you don't have any vision or ambition, you're losing respect points, my brother. If you move in with this woman and you're not a go-getter, you're not a hard worker, she's seeing that. She see that you kind of lazy. She's starting to see that. You're losing respect points, my brother. Okay? So all of this stuff you can rectify just living on your own, right? She don't have to know all of this stuff about you. She don't have to know that you in development mode. But when you move in with her, you expose yourself, and she's going to realize sooner or later that this is not a man that can lead me. For real. For real. Like, if you really care about your respect, you're going to listen to what I'm saying. And lastly, look, once she loses respect for you, she starts to talk to you any type of way. She starts to feel like, hey, I'm the leader in this relationship. Jeez. I mean, and is she not? You going 50-50 with her on the bills. You know what I'm saying? You done lost leadership points, right? God forbid she paying everything. Oh, man. You going to tell me to so who? Not submit. Not
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Not submit to what?
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Ninja, I'm paying the bills. Matter of fact, you submit to me. That's the type of demeanor and approach that you're gonna get, right? Depending on this woman's temperament, most women, they're not gonna be able to withstand your laziness, your lack of vision, your lack of leadership, your lack of competency, your lack of capability. They're not going to be able to withstand that for a long period of time without eventually stepping into the alpha role, because you have left the alpha role absent. So she going to step into it. She going to step into it. And when she step into that role, she going to look at you differently. And she going to be like, yo, this ain't a man that I can respect. And then she gonna start treating you like she don't respect you. And she wants to start talking to you like she don't respect you. And oh, buddy, one day she gonna get tired. And guess what she gonna do? She gonna kick you out. One day, that woman gonna get fed up, like that man R. Kelly used to say, when a woman's fed up, there ain't nothing you can do about it. She gonna get fed up, and she gonna realize that, oh, I'm settling with this man. I'm taking care of this man. I'm pouring into this man, but I ain't really getting nothing out of this man. This man is a liability. He isn't an asset. She gonna get fed up, and then she gonna kick you out of her house.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Look, when you move in with her, that's her house. Her name on the lease, baby. Her name is on the lease. So guess what? If y'all get into an argument, if she feels some type of way, if she lose patience, she can always kick you out, my brother. And I don't want you being kicked out. I don't. But that's why you shouldn't move into her spot in the first place. Shouldn't do it. You just shouldn't do it. So just like she let you move in, she can tell your butt it's time for you to move out. It's real. I'm just talking real. Okay? So if you don't want that to be the case, if you as a man, you have not lived on your own successfully, you need to do that before you move in with the woman. If you are a young man who has not lived on your own successfully, you need to do that before you move in with a girlfriend. That's just practical tips. Ultimately, you shouldn't be moving in with this person at all if you're not married. And I'm talking about that on another episode when I address shacking up. Okay, but for this episode, fellas, don't do it. You're going to lose respect. She not going to trust you. Depending on how you move in, you're going to lose respect. She's not going to trust you. And she's going to feel like at the end of the day, this dude can't lead me and he's a liability. Do you want that? If not, then I think you know what you should do. Look, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to this episode of the On God Podcast. Man, here's what I need you to do. If you rocking with this, if you locked in, I need you to share this with somebody. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Fire off in the comments if I said something that was good and you were like, yo, this is definitely a takeaway. Share it with a man or a couple of men, that are in your life, whether it's brother, father, stepfather, it don't matter. Just share it, spread the word, man, because at the end of the day, like I told y'all, my goal with this podcast is to help you walk in your calling, to develop into everything that God has called you to be. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for rocking with your boy. Until next time, peace.